and welcome to the What the Shuck podcast. The goal of the What the Shuck podcast is to provide a platform to positive and influential people of Kentucky and Appalachia that are in some way using their talents or skills to influence and make a difference. And my next guest is from Knott County, Kentucky. Miss Brit Taylor is going to be joining us. She just is off a release of her album that has been reimagined from her sophomore album. So her third album is taking more of a bluegrass focus, and which is true to the roots and tradition of who you are as a person. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Excited
to be here.
Yeah.
Excited to be home in Kentucky.
Yes. So you just played a show at the Burl. You're doing some press for your album. Kind of walk us through what that's like for somebody that would be an up-and-coming musician or somebody that's just a listener of yours.
Yeah, it's always kind of it's so exciting to release new music. I actually really enjoy it. Some artists, I know it stresses them out because you really have to be ultra focused on the business side of it and promotions and marketing, especially as an independent artist. But I actually really enjoy it, but it is a lot at first because I feel like these days there's so much music being released or so much press coming out that you just have to go. Those first 3 months of a record release are just like a whirlwind. But I think my team's killing it, and I'm excited to have the music out into the world, and I'm really excited now to be able to tour it. And the show in the Burl was so much fun. I brought a huge bluegrass band and played the whole record, and also some covers and some fun stuff, and it's been a lot of fun.
So on this album that you just released, you have essentially reimagined 5 of your songs from your second album, and is that considered your first studio album though, Kentucky Blue?
No, I released Real Me in 2020,
okay,
and that was definitely a full-blown studio album with Dave Brainerd producing, and my husband played on it, and it was the whole 9 yards. It was a fun one to make too.
Cool. So with making an album like that and kind of taking a new song and having seen, I think you did your second album, you worked with Sturgill some on that, right?
Yeah.
So
David Ferguson.
having seen his success from reimagining his songs into bluegrass, was that some of the influence for that, or what exactly made you be you know what, these songs are really good, but I think they're missing an elemental part of who I am as a person?
No, I mean, I've just always wanted to make a bluegrass record. Patty did that first. I always wanted to be Patty. I still want to be Patty Loveless. she's my hero. So it was really more of an influence by Patty Loveless, and also the Chicks. They had a bluegrass record. I don't know if you remember that, but Home. It's a fantastic bluegrass record. And Dolly Parton also had one in, was it 07 or 2000 something? But those were actually my inspiration. I've always wanted to make a bluegrass record because I saw those country artists make one. And then when I write my songs, and if you were to listen, I could pull it up on my phone right now, and if you heard the work tape that I made, I don't know why they still call them work tapes, I guess because they used to be on an actual tape. You would, in the writer's session, you would push record on a little cassette player, and so we still call them that, but they're voice memos. If I were to pull that up right now, the songs really lend themselves to a bluegrass vibe. And I love what Sturgill and Ferg did with them. I mean, they took those songs and did completely, some of them were just completely different than what I could have ever imagined, and I was like, man, that's really cool. And that's what's so much fun with working with other creative people, because we all have these different muses, these little song angels flying around, landing on us and giving us good ideas. And it's fun when you see, my muse and Ferg and Sturgill's muses all flying around the room working together and creating something really cool that none of us would have done on our own. It would have been something completely different. And I got to do the new reimagined version with my husband. He knows me better than anybody. He hears me sing in the shower, in the kitchen, or in the car, or he's heard me sing in shitty bars and at clubs or theaters or the Opry. So yeah, just working on that with him was so much fun. And he kind of comes from that world of bluegrass more so than I do. I'm just having fun. I'm just grassing up country songs. I don't claim to be a grasser.
I mean, you come from deep roots of traditional Kentucky music, so kind of walk us through what it looked like you growing up and being a musician that was exposed to so many great musicians and the talent of Eastern Kentucky through the MAC.
Yeah, I mean, the Mountain Arts Center shaped me. I wouldn't be here now doing music, and I would have never had the guts to move to Nashville and write songs if it hadn't been for the Mountain Arts Center and the Kentucky Opry Junior Pros. And I mean, I've been singing in a band since I was 7, and the cool thing about that is the band was all 7, 9, 10, 16, 17, like it was all kids. And that experience was just being around musicians and musicians my own age or near my age was just so much fun. And then also getting around we always call it the Big Opry, but the Kentucky Opry, the adults were just so fabulous, and many of them had either toured with artists before professionally, or like Jeff Branham played on the Grand Ole Opry, and then you have so many people that went from the Kentucky Opry Junior Pros who are playing in like big bands now, like Corey Caldwell, Haley Sullivan's with Pam Tillis and Lynn Morgan, and me when I can get her. Yeah, it was amazing.
I mean, I would imagine that being exposed to that at such a young age kind of set you on a trajectory that you were, like you said, it's like a lot of people might not have that confidence. They might have picked up the guitar and started writing some songs, but you're around all these people who are also doing that, and I would imagine that's very encouraging.
Oh, yeah.
And
I never thought about anything else. It was like, this is what I do, and the next logical step when I graduate high school is go to Nashville. Like, this is what I do. Like, this is what I got to do this.
You wouldn't even have gone to high school if you didn't have to. You were just I already know what I'm doing.
Like, oh, yeah. I would have packed my bags and moved to Nashville as soon as I could. In fact, I did. I think we were, the next day after graduation, we're heading down to Nashville to get me moved in. I was ready to go.
So at 18, you were like, I'm going to Nashville.
17.
Yeah. That is incredible. I mean, it's really cool because it's like now you're seeing your work start to pay off for you, and like you're going to go do cool stuff like play at the Opry or play at Railbird, and it's like I know about those shows, but where are some really cool places that you've played that you just maybe never imagined you would play, or a place that you just are surprised that was really cool?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, the Opry was definitely like bucket list.
Go.
Yeah, I mean, it was just insane. Like, if I didn't have pictures and videos to prove that actually happened, I would swear it was a dream. Like, it was that perfect and surreal, and it just flew by so fast. I can't wait to do that again. And I just got to play the Station Inn, and that was kind of a bucket list venue. There was 4 when I moved to town. It was Station Inn, Bluebird, the Opry, and the Ryman. And I haven't played the Ryman yet, so that one's still on the list.
You're watching.
Keeping my fingers crossed for the Ryman.
I'm sure those people were watching What the Show.
I'm sure they are. I don't know, there's all kinds, and we did a tour on the West Coast, so I got to see things that places that I've never been before, and it's not always the biggest fancy venues. We played in this tiny little bar club. It used to be a post office in like the 1800s. I mean, it was old, and the town had a population of like 700. It was Trout Lake.
Okay.
I think it was Trout Lake, Oregon, or Trout Lake, Washington. I don't even remember. I can't remember. But I mean, the place had maybe 40 people in it, and I just think that was one of the coolest venues to play. I had so much fun playing that show. It was just me and my husband Adam, and I don't know, for some reason that venue was just really magical, and I loved it.
So when you do your touring, are you mainly just doing it with Adam, or do you sometimes, I know we were talking about Aaron went with you on the trip where you were on the boat, but is it usually you and Adam and other people, or is it just you two, or how's it work most of the time?
It just depends. On a lot of times when I'm opening for other acts, I'll have requests that it's 3 pieces or 2 pieces, or they won't want a full band. So it really depends on who I'm opening for, because I'm doing a lot of that right now. And then I'm still just trying to get my name out there, and a lot of times it's just easier on the little wallet just to travel with me and Adam. But when I can afford it, I love taking out my band, and that's the goal, to be able to take my band out with me all the time, because it's just more fun, and there's more energy, whether it's the bluegrass band or the electric band, or maybe hopefully at some point I can get a band to do a little bit of a hybrid of the two.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any places other than the Ryman that are like on your bucket list that you'd really like to play? Obviously, probably like Red Rocks too.
I was just about to say Red Rocks. Yeah, that's on the bucket list for sure.
I feel like everybody's like, I made it if they play at like Red Rocks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. No, but like I'm trying to. There's probably a bunch of places that I can't think of right now, but the one on the forefront of the mind is next is Ryman and Red Rocks for sure.
I feel like both of those are just coliseums of greatness. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, just magic.
Even though I guess the Ryman's not that big, but it's still like
yeah, it's the Ryman though.
Yeah,
it's just I think it's just the history and like it's church. I mean, it's everybody who's anybody who's played there, all my heroes, and I swear it's like you can feel it when you walk in the building, and especially when you're backstage or on the stage. Like I've been back there before, but I've never gotten to walk out on the stage and sing anything or anything like that. But yeah, it's just magical. You can feel the spirits all around.
This is true. It is a beautiful place. It's like it's a spiritual like place. It's like really weird how to explain when you go to like a place that's had so many fantastic musicians perform there, and you kind of feel like you said they're like ghosts, or it's not really their ghosts, but it's like there's a residual energy that's there from them.
100%, and you can feel. I got goosebumps just thinking about it right now. You can feel it. They're there.
Hey, those are premeditated goosebumps because you're gonna feel that when you're there. You're gonna be like, "This is happening right
We're
now."
Manifesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that happen. So when you're with you releasing this new album, obviously you're going to be playing a lot of shows. Do you have like some dates upcoming that people should know about or that you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah, we just announced a whole spring tour. A lot of it's opening acts. I'm so grateful for the people that call me to open shows for them. I'll be with Haley Witters in a couple weeks in Chattanooga. I'm going to be with Nitty Gritty Dirt Band for I think 3 or 4 dates. And then I'll be going back out to the West Coast for a month with Jesse Daniels.
Okay.
So I'm super excited to be with him all those shows and get to warm up the stage. And it's just so cool when artists like that share their fans with me, because I am new and I'm trying to find my people, and the only thing that keeps me hanging on is like I know they're there. I know they're out there. I can feel them. If I could just figure out how to get to them and meet them and play my music for them, I know that I have my own little fan base out there somewhere. So when Haley and Jesse and Nitty Gritty and Dwight Yoakam and whoever else that I've opened for, Margo Price, when they share their people with me, it's just like I don't know, it's just the coolest thing, and I could not be more grateful for it.
I mean, that's pretty much how I saw you, was when you opened for Sunday Best, and I'm sad that I didn't know that you were playing music before that, and you were like, yeah, I grew up here and was on the Opry, or not the Opry, but the, what did you call it earlier?
Junior
Pros. And I was like, how have I never like heard this lady? And we were also talking about how when you left here, there just wasn't a scene here.
Yeah, it was 2007, and the thing that you did if you wanted to be a songwriter, because I really wanted to be a songwriter, I wanted to write my own songs and record for myself, but it's always been a goal of mine to have other artists come to me and be like, I want to record that song. Like, I've always been a songwriter, and that's always been very important to me. So when I got to Nashville, we all have our uniquely divine paths, and Tyler's was touring. He started touring and building a fan base. And I went to school for music business, and then I signed a publishing deal on Music Row, and I did no touring, none. I put my head down and was writing 5 days a week, trying to write a hit, trying to get a record deal with this band I was in, and yeah, so I'd never toured, and the band released EP in 2016 with no marketing, no promotion, no nothing, and it just it died right before the band kind of fell apart, and at that point it had been 10 years I think after all that happened, and I was like, oh man, I'm going back to Kentucky, and I did, and I stuck around, and it's really cool. The industry is like super different than what it used to be, because now you can release your own music. Like nobody can really tell an artist no now, and it's really cool. Like artists don't understand how much power they have now, because the labels and the business still want you to think that they have all the power, and the gatekeepers at commercial radio, they have zero power. Like you can blow up on TikTok, you can blow up on Instagram, like they have zero power. The artist has all the power now. So, and that just wasn't a thing when I got to town, but I'm glad it is now, because I'm fully taking advantage of it.
Well, I mean, I feel like there's a possibility that, like, I don't know if you saw that, like some record label took all their music off TikTok. It was like,
Oh yeah, I think Universal.
it was like, it was someone big.
Yeah.
And I was like, they don't want people to go to TikTok. That's why. Like, they're taking that stuff off there because they're providing a platform to people that are independent artists. And then you have Zach Bryan, or I don't know if Noah Cohen, but I think he kind of got TikTok famous. So it's like these independent artists are like, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's like they no longer have that power. And I would imagine that part of the reason they're able to do that to begin with was that you could do a video template with a Taylor Swift song or whatever song you want to put in it. And now they're like, nah.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. I mean, because they sign all the TikTok acts, and it's like, wait, you're going to pull all their music off when you sign them because you discovered them on TikTok, and now you're going to. So it's really strange, but also I do understand it from an artist perspective. Like, we do deserve to be paid, and especially songwriters. Like, songwriters are fighting so hard because the artist, well, whoever owns the master is making the majority of the money, and the songwriters are really like struggling to keep their head above water unless they're on a commercial, top 20 song. So I understand that, like, we have to fight to be heard, and sometimes it just sucks, the things that you have to do to get there. So I don't know, it's like on one hand I get it, but on the other hand it seems so backwards.
I mean, like you just said,
any kind of answers.
I didn't even think about that. I'm like, like if they find a TikTok artist and they sign that person and they're getting famous because of TikTok, and then you sign them and then they're no longer
and then you pull all their stuff
platform
off. It's so strange, but like I said, I get it. We do need to stand up to TikTok and whoever isn't paying fairly.
So was that part of the issue with that? Was they were like, you're not really fairly compensating our musicians? Okay, well that's okay. I mean, I kind of understand that then.
Yeah, definitely. But you don't want to hurt your artists in the process. But then how do you stand up if you don't do anything at all? I have no idea. I have no answers.
The legality of the music game is so complicated. I mean, you see what's happened with Sturgill released his album as a bluegrass album, allegedly to get off that label. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard that that's essentially, from what I understood, Drake did that. And then he was like, that's genius. And he was like, I can get off my label by re-releasing songs I've already released and then just start doing independent, I guess. I don't know if that's factual.
I have no clue.
Drake definitely did that for a fact. Like, dropped like 40 songs and was like, see ya. And so it's like, at the same time, that is a complicated game. And it's like, it's crazy when these artists create the song, or you're a songwriter and you're like, I may have not mastered the production for the song, but I like wrote the song nobody's just listening to like guitars and fiddles. I mean, I do that, but like, there's no commercial success with that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, album cuts would make songwriters really good living. It's like back when people were buying physical copies. Like, if you had a cut on a Faith Hill record that was selling, I don't know how many they sold, but you would make it, like, you're set. Like, you're making a good living. And now if you get a Tim McGraw cut or Faith Hill or something, like, I've heard one guy had a Tim cut, an album cut, not a single. Singles are completely different. $600
for Tim McGraw.
Yeah,
because
I don't know if that was in quarter or in, I don't know, but still, like,
it's Tim McGraw.
It's Tim McGraw.
Yeah.
It's what, and I don't know how many songwriters were on it or what, but it wouldn't even matter, like, back in the 90s, how many songwriters were on it. Like, they would all be set from an album cut that sold physical copies.
Streaming has kind of removed that potential, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's so great for independent artists too. It's like on one hand, I can sit here and talk about the ways that it sucks, and then on the next, it's like I wouldn't exist without it.
Sure.
You know, because I've been in Nashville for 17 years now. I've been turned down by every record label at least twice. And if I didn't have the means of streaming and releasing my own music, and there was still all these gatekeepers that are turning me down, I don't have an opportunity at all, and now I do. So I think it's just like figuring out the business of it that's going to be fair for everybody, and a lot of people are fighting for it, and I think it's all moving in the right direction. It's just takes time. Progress takes time.
Well, I think that's part of the issue too, is like these massive platforms are essentially driven completely by the content that someone else is making.
Yeah.
And it's like, but they're making all the money off of it. And it's like, I don't know if you can say it's unethical, because like you said, it's like at the same time you have the opportunity as an independent artist to have your own voice and release your stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and if you're going viral, then those people are coming and buying tickets and buying records. So it's such a strange thing. But I do think at the end of the day, songwriters, we all deserve to be compensated for the art that we make and create.
Well, I mean, how much happiness and like economy is created, like financial and like just people being happy because like of music or sports or entertainment in some capacity. Yeah. And it's like, Lexington would be a ghost town if UK wasn't good at sports, probably. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there would not be bars everywhere and like good places to eat because no one would be here. So it's like the fact that those athletes weren't being fairly compensated is no different than a musician not being fairly compensated. Because it's like you all are kind of doing all the heavy lifting, so it's kind of crazy when you're like, that's weird, my song's on the radio, but I didn't get any money for that, or on Spotify or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I guess when you're independent, though, you're like, it's going straight to me at least.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Well, so we were talking a little bit before about your mom made a special appearance on, I guess this sounds kind of stupid, but on a thread I had. She didn't make a special appearance. I just made a question. Was like, hey, who has the best biscuits and gravy? And I didn't know it was your mom. I was like, who's this Bug Hamilton lady that's like dropping all these like very specific details about Brit Taylor?
Be my mother.
And she was like, Brit makes the best cat head biscuits with gravy from bologna. And I was like, this person just had to like eat these, I would assume.
I do make some good biscuits, and I do make some good gravy. Usually it's bacon gravy, but it's good.
I love bacon gravy. Someone told me that their grandma would roll around in the grave if I ever made bacon gravy in their house, and I'm like, it's just, gravy's gravy to me.
Yeah, my favorite like home cooked meal that my mama would make was pork chops, fried pork chops, gravy, and eggs over easy for dinner, and biscuits. Like, we had that for dinner all the time, and it's one of my favorite meals.
That just made me really hungry for some
I know, I'm like, where can we get lunch?
So, you have a farm, right?
It's more like a petting zoo.
Okay, a petting zoo. A homestead or whatever.
Yeah.
But
it's a little farm, mini farm, I guess.
So you're doing a lot of cool stuff. You're obviously touring as a musician. You're releasing music, but you do stuff at your house, and you're also working. You created your own business to help you pay for with what you do for work.
Yeah.
And so you have a song called "Rich Little Girls." And I always love hearing you say that, because I think it's so important as a storyteller. Something I think you do such a great job at is when you play, you kind of give a little like tidbit on what the song's about before. And then I think when people do that, you're able to more easily immerse yourself into like the music they're creating. And sometimes people just get up on the stage and just play song, play song, play song, play song. And you do a really good job of in between kind of painting the picture of like what the next story is going to be about. And I think it's super funny to hear you talk about like, hey, I had to work to get here and I busted my ass. So kind of like, as an independent artist, someone who is doing well, you're doing a good job. give some insight on like what that determination takes, because you've obviously had to work really hard, not just as a musician, but in other ways to get to play your music.
Yeah, when in 2017, everything just kind of fell apart. I was going through divorce. The band broke up. I had been offered an extension on the songwriting deal that I had, the publishing deal, and it was an extension of like negotiate. I don't know how many more years they were going to try to tack on this thing, and the company was fine. It's just I'd already been there for 4 years. I'd already been turned down by every record label in town, and I was just having a crisis of like, who am I? Do I even want to play this kind of music? I wasn't happy, and I just said no, which is the bravest thing I think I've ever done, because I literally didn't have any money, didn't have a job. I was going to be alone, like trying to keep my farm. And I said a prayer about it before I went to bed that night, because I knew the next day I would have to say, like, yeah, I'll sign it, at least we'll get a paycheck for 3 more months, and then we'll see what happens. Which wouldn't have been a huge thing. I could have done it, but I woke up dreaming of what I was going to say to them and why I couldn't sign that deal. Like, literally could hear my voice inside my head saying, thank you for the last 4 years. I'm so grateful, but I can't sign this. Like, it was just like the universe was saying, no, I'm going to need you to be brave for me. Like, this is going to hurt and this is going to suck, but this is what you have to do. So my brother has a cleaning company in East Kentucky, and he knew what was going on, and he called me and he was like, well, are you ready to start cleaning? Are you ready to start your cleaning company? I said, well, I reckon we'll have to. Like, I've got to. So he sent me a vacuum, a duster, and a notebook. And I learned how to start my own company, and I started cleaning houses. And you can't just hire people off the bat, and I needed money. So I was cleaning all these houses myself. And then once it got too much for me, I hired my first person. And then I signed up my first church into my business, and I hired a few more. And so I kind of just built this company. But my goal was to give myself a publishing deal, to pay myself to write songs. And then my goal was to pay for a record. Well, how much does a record cost? How much does it cost to print vinyl? How much does artwork cost? Like, what is this person doing, this independent artist? Well, she hired this person for publicist. Well, how much does that cost? And it is not cheap. Like, anybody can do it if you can figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah.
Like, it is not rocket science. That's what gets on my nerves about these record labels. Like, they're smarter than everybody else. They're not.
They just got big pockets.
They just got deep pockets,
Yeah.
and they try things, and there's no one size fits all, or we all be famous like that, because we'd all be doing it. You just follow your gut and do the best that you can. But often my cleaning company is what pays for taking a band out on the road. If the gig doesn't pay enough to have a full band, and I want to have one, and I look at my finances, I'm like, can I afford this? And then I can take a band, or I can't take a band. Like, but when you don't have a record label or an investor giving you a bunch of money, you got to figure out how to do that shit yourself. So that song came about because I was getting ready to write with Adam Wright and his wife and kids were going to come over to see all the animals. We've got goats and donkeys and chickens, and Adam cooks so good, and I'm pretty good at pouring wine and bourbon, so
barely making biscuits and gravy.
But they were going to come over, and I had somebody call out of work. And when you're the owner of a company, like, you show up.
Mm-hmm.
So I called out and said, man, you can't come over, and the kids can't come over, nobody's coming over. I'm going to have to go clean a church tonight. Somebody's not showing up for work. And he was like, that's all right, I get it. And I said, well, maybe someday I'll sell records. And hung up, and that Monday, so that was Saturday, and that following Monday I had scheduled to write with him and Kimberly Kelly. And he said, man, have I got a song idea for you? And he spout off the very first verse of Rich Little Girls. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh my God. And Kimberly Kelly is a speech pathologist. Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
I can't even say the word, and I know it's about talking.
The irony.
I know. But she really resonated with the idea too, because she's putting out her records independently and paying bands and putting gas in the van and getting hotel rooms. And we wrote that song so fast, and Yeah, and I cut it on the bluegrass record too, just because I thought it deserved a second life. And
I love that song.
I love that song too. I hope that gets to more people, because I know that I'm not the only person in the world that's doing that. That's funding their passion with something else. And yeah, I hope that, especially more women too, because there's a lot of women out there working real hard to get the things they want and need for their family. Like it's not like it used to be where the one person's working, you know, we're all working our butts off.
Yeah. I mean, I think today, if you're doing, I mean, unless you're just very, very, very fortunate, like, it would be impossible to, like, I mean, I feel like you have to work if you're not on a label. Unless you're just very blessed and were born wealthy, like, the rich little girls, I guess.
Yeah, and a lot of artists don't talk about it either.
There's only a tiny little bit of water.
But a lot of artists don't talk about their side hustles because it's like they want to be known as just an artist. And I get that, and to each his own, but I don't want to ever put out this idea that this is easy. Because how discouraging would that be for an artist that's struggling and they don't know how much I'm struggling too. And I think that more artists need to know, like, it's okay if you have another job that has nothing to do with music. I don't think that you can create from a place of scarcity and a place of stress and survival. I can't. Like, I need to know that I'm okay to even open up that portal to be able to hear from my muses. Or I know this is the strangest thing, but that's just how I feel. And when I'm stressed, I can't hear anything. I have no song ideas. Yeah.
I know that's a challenging part just anything. If you're, I guess that's like a form of our survival skills. It's like our brains literally telling us, like, you can't focus on anything else because you're stressed out.
Yeah, you're in survival mode.
Which was good at one point, but it's like today, it's like there's no longer like a lion in the bush waiting to kill us. It's like someone made a mean post or something, and you're like, damn.
Yeah.
And it's like I swear it's so interesting to see the stress that people create today, because I think it's because it's so easy to live. It's like life is tough, but like we're living in the greatest times ever.
We're not having our dinners anymore.
Yeah.
We're building our own houses.
We're not hunters and gatherers, and like it's just we go to a drive-thru in our food center.
Yeah.
Or we cook it, hopefully, but and it's just I cannot imagine being an artist, and it's like just doing the podcast even, and that's part of why we do it, is to provide that transparency of, hey, here's an artist, here's what they've had that's going great, here's what they've had that's been a struggle, here's a business owner that owns a bar, here's what's gone great, here's what's been a struggle, here's a doctor, like here's what it was like going through med school, here's what it was like doing residency, and just trying to be, because like you said, it would suck to be like, hey, I have this dream and I want to go do it, and you think it's going to be all like a cakewalk, and it's just never is.
Yeah.
Even if you have money, it's still probably not.
Oh, no. And just because you have an investor or have a label doesn't mean things that will happen either. I mean, I'm seeing so many people come and go after being in Nashville for as long as I have that had all the things and it still just didn't work. And nobody really knows why. Like, I've heard wonderful artists that had deals and it just didn't. I don't know. There's no blueprint for how to do this. Just... you do it because you love it, and hopefully you find people that love it too.
Well, I think that's what's really good about this scene here in Kentucky is a lot of these people have been exposed to playing music really young, like yourself, and it's like a lot of it is out of love as opposed to like, hey, I'm trying to be the cool guy that's playing the guitar, and it's like, no, you all like actually just truly love putting on a bluegrass record and listening to it, or like hearing the roots of like the influence that has made the music that you made, and diving deep into it, not just being like really shallow, like, hey, yeah, I love Chris Stapleton or whoever it is, and then like not finding out who influenced him or whatever. But it's like when you listen to your music, it's pretty obvious you're from Kentucky, you're from Appalachia. Like, it's just the themes, the style, So I'm glad that you stuck to those guns and have stayed true to that and have wanted to make your product the way you wanted to, and not allowed the fact that people are like all the record labels that have said no twice. It's like, but you still do. You had a vision. I think that's probably what it is. It's ultimately like when people hit like a plateau, do they choose to like continue to be stubborn and just drive into it until it breaks? Or do they quit? Because there are certainly people that are really talented, and it's like you said, it's like, well, what happened? And I think at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, they went home, and it's like you can't win if you give up.
Yeah.
And it's like you could take breaks, but it's like you can't give up completely on it. And I know that. Are you familiar with Bruce Lee at all? Like the karate guy?
Bruce Lee?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my daddy's a karate teacher.
Oh really?
Dad's a 10th degree black belt. I'm a 2nd degree black belt.
What?
Yeah, you better watch what you say in front of this camera.
That's true, but Bruce Lee, that is awesome. Got a karate master over here. Interesting story before I get to Bruce Lee. I was doing a belt test when I was like 5 years old. And obviously, like karate's a lot about discipline and respect, and like you respect the dojo, you respect whoever's your teacher, your sensei.
Walk through the door.
Exactly. Take your shoes off.
Yep.
I was doing a belt test, and I took my belt off, and there was like 3 other kids in front of me, and I started doing jump rope with my belt. And my mom, to this day, is like, "That's the most embarrassing thing you've ever done to me." And I'm like, I was a little shithead. But so Bruce Lee, before he became famous, was in this like epically crazy motorcycle ring.
I did not know that.
Exactly, and was like told, "You're not only not going to do karate ever again, you're not ever going to walk again."
Wow.
And he was like, hearing that, literally, I realized in life, like, we're going to be faced with crazy obstacles, and we're going to be faced with just adversity if we're trying to do good or do something great. And he's like, and I would rather suffer from trying to be great than suffer from doing nothing.
Yeah, 100%. And we all have our own unique divine paths. And when I look back on my own, like, I'm so glad that everything has went down exactly how it's went down, because I would not be who I am right now without experiencing what I've experienced. I wouldn't have the empathy. I wouldn't have the understanding. I just wouldn't have the knowledge. I literally would not be who I am had all of that not happened. And I honestly sometimes think, like, thank God that they didn't sign me and put out 24-year-old Britney's music, who didn't know what she wanted to sound like, or what she wanted to look like, or what she wanted to say, and didn't have the guts at that point to say, no, I don't want to sound like that. I don't want to look like that. This is my brand. This is who I am. And now I do know. And now I get to say who I am, what I want to look like, how I want to be portrayed, what I want my album artwork, Instagram, all that stuff. Like, I get to decide, and I know who I am. And thank God that this is the version of me that I get to put out into the world, that got to walk out onto the Grand Ole Opry stage. Like, I'm really glad that it happened the way it happened, and I'm grateful for past Britney and all the things, and I forgive her and love her dearly, but I'm letting those past versions of myself go, and now it's just giving myself the freedom to grow and to change and to become something. Yeah, it's a wild journey.
I mean, I feel like you're absolutely Appalachian and like super Kentucky, so
100%.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was like not the mold that they were trying to present, but like I'm glad you're doing
probably
it
not.
too.
I remember having a label meeting, and we asked the guy, we're like, do we need to take some like beats, like we're a stomp machine, like is he gonna be able to hear that we have drums? Like, will he be able to hear if we don't have that? He was like, oh, yeah, just bring your instruments. So we have dobro, mandolin, and guitar. We play the first song, we kill it. It sounds so good, and I'm thinking, we're getting a record deal today. And that guy, he just sits back at his desk, he looks at us, he goes, so, is this mountain music? feel my blood boiling.
It's good.
And I'm like, well, I am from Appalachia, from East Kentucky, and our bandmates from South Carolina. Yeah, I guess it is mountain music.
Yeah.
We did not get a record deal that day.
Sheesh. So is that like not a niche that they were trying to capture then, or like?
I think it was something everybody. I mean, I don't know how many songs I wrote that like needed a train beat behind them. They're like,
Yeah.
you can't write train beats. You can't write waltzes. It was always too country or too like.
Is a train beat
bluegrass.
like Florida Georgia line?
No, train beat's good. Train
Okay.
beat's like what you would have on like bluegrass drums.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of a song that would have a train beat, and I can't off the top of my head. But it's like a pretty simple. It's a very country.
Yeah.
Like thing. And I remember it just couldn't happen. If you wrote a song that sounded like it needed a train beat, you need to figure out how to do something else because it wasn't allowed. And now it's like everywhere again.
So there's like standard formulas for music that they're just like, nah.
Well, they think they are. They contrive them, and then that's like what happens with the gatekeepers in music world. It's all of a sudden like you can't do this or you can't do that, and it's like why?
Well, I feel
Why
like
not?
that's such a great question. I think that's like the whole like that is the best question to ask on earth. Is like someone's like you can't do that. It's like well, why not? Like
Yeah. And you got some kid that blows up on TikTok and they're doing it.
yeah, exactly.
So somebody likes it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Usually the brain is like telling you like, you know, it's leading you in the right direction. If your intuition is saying, hey, like
That's the thing to listen to.
it's the thing to listen to. And I think that's so interesting that I think what's really weird about Nashville is I feel like it sounds a lot of stuff that comes out today from not independent artists sounds like almost like Nickelback or something. It's like rock and roll from LA that has been like stripped down a little bit and then they put country instruments over it. But it's the same like the drum. So when you're saying the drum thing, I was like, I don't know, I just assumed that's what you're talking about. But
Yeah.
there's like this specific drum beat that's like on every single radio country song.
Yeah, because once it's a hit, then everybody else tries to replicate it. It's like, it's a town that most often is full of people like trying to chase one thing, and then that's why everything ends up sounding the same. But the next person to break that mold is the person that's really famous, like Chris
True.
Stapleton or Casey. Hayley Whitters is going to be huge. Lainey Wilson, like it's the people that end up not chasing that end up just breaking the mold. Now, the next 10 years they'll be chasing Lainey because that's just the town. That's
True.
just like, oh, she had a hit doing